You are listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. Hello and welcome to Radio Nonsense, the official Comedy Club for Kids podcast that's suitable for all ages from 2. And everything in between. I'm Tiernan, and this week, listeners, I'm actually having to do the podcast from the doctor's surgery because I'm afraid I've had a bit of an accident. No, not like a pooing one, more like an injury one.
And how does this feel?
Well, Doctor, it doesn't really feel of anything.
Yes, correct. I was tapping this stick on my desk, so it would have been really strange if you'd felt something.
Right. Now, Doctor, how does that help with my stubbed toe?
Oh, yes. How did you do that again?
Well, I tripped over a pile of stinky hippos that had camouflaged themselves into the carpet, and that made me bang my big toe right into a knitted model of Warwick Castle that was lying around.
Knitted, so it was very soft.
No, it was knitted with stone. A woolen castle would be rubbish for defence. It was a gift from some very strange tiny wizards.
I see. Interesting. In which case, how does it feel when I do this?
I feel happy, I guess. I love an accordion.
Interesting. And can you say, ah?
Ah.
I see. Well, if you could just wait outside and I'll go over my notes and give you a diagnosis as soon as I can.
Okay, thanks, Doc.
I'm not a duck. I'm a person.
Right. Whoa, waiting at the doctor always takes ages, so why don't I use the time I have to take a look in the mailbag this week? This is from Millie in Australia, who posted this on Apple Podcast Reviews, saying, "Hi, this is the best podcast. It makes me laugh every time. I love this the best. If you say this is a 3-star, then get out. If you say you hate this, then this is me." And then she put lots of angry, sad and horrified cat faces. Wow, thanks so much, Millie. That is a lovely message. And I can't work out if by this is me you mean you are a cat or you would dress as a cat to pull those faces. But either way, I'm very glad you like the show and listen in, possibly while dressed as a cat. Then Dennis Jr., Senior Dennis, has sent this in from the US. Wow, sorry, an actual high-ranking Dennis. Because to be a Senior Dennis, Dennis Jr. really must have served as a professional Dennis for quite some time. I'm very impressed and honoured such a Senior Dennis would tune into the show. Anyway, Dennis Jr. says, "Wow, this is a great podcast. And is Linda a chipmunk or a bunny? Let me know. Also, I am Bob the Alien and I love waffles." Hang on. I thought you were a Senior Dennis. Now you're an alien called Bob? Well, I suppose what better way for an alien called Bob to disguise themselves on Earth than by pretending they're a Dennis? Well, you're obviously a very smart alien because you like that, this show and waffles, so thank you so much for listening. And you know, I don't know if Linda is a chipmunk or a bunny. I don't think she's either, but I've also never met her, so I guess she could be both. Who knows? Linda, are you a chipmunk or a bunny, Linda? Well, it remains to be seen, Senior Dennis, and I hope that we find out soon. Now, if you have something that you'd like to send in, whether it's a question that needs to be answered, something you'd like me to read out on the show, or you still want to enter the Cringe Club competition from last week's episode, then please get your nearest rattling kookmeister, grown-up, to help you email me at podcasts@comedyclub4kids.co.uk. I do also read any reviews you put on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and sometimes Amazon Music when I remember to, so do that as well. And please check out comedyclubforkids.co.uk for all of our live shows. Comedy Club for Kids will actually be on every single day at the Edinburgh Fringe this year with different acts for every single show. I sadly can't be there, but if you go along, you will very likely see some of the guests that have been on Radio Nonsense. Now, let me just check with the receptionist.
What do you want?
Hi, do you know how long I have to wait for the doctor's results?
Yeah, about 400 years now. Sit down.
Uh-oh, right, well, that's quite a while. So while I wait here, you have a listen to this most importantest bit. Joining me on Radio Nonsense today, that's right, it's the world's foremost extreme sandwich artist, Myles Mcleod. Myles, it is so nice to have you on the show. How are you doing?
I'm very happy to be here, Tina. Thank you. Yes, I'm okay. Although I'm feeling slightly bilious from eating too many sandwiches, which is, of course, a problem with being so artful with sandwiches. In fact, bread is in many ways the least important thing when it comes to sandwiches. It's I go for fillings that are at least 9 foot tall.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's what I want, because when you hear extreme sandwich artists, obviously I know art is part of that. The extreme bit, you've dabbled with, I believe, you've eaten sandwiches in extreme places, but you've also made some really extreme sandwiches. You've really covered all areas of that title.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think there was the time I was in the Blue Mountains of Australia and decided to run with that theme, and just, the entire sandwich was blue or deep red. There's a lot of beetroot involved, some raspberries, and the bread had to be stained first. I think we used rye bread, which is already very dark, and then just had to find some. And then, of course, it's very hot there. Famous for Charles Darwin went there many years before, and actually was involved in one of the early. In fact, he was in fact, of course, the originator of strange sandwich eating, and he sort of began the whole movement. Big fan of Charles Darwin. I mean, he also came up with the theory of evolution, but that's seems a small accomplishment compared to his sandwich-based activities.
Yes, he had. I thought the theory of evolution, and you're far more of an expert in this than I am, so I'll defer this to you. But I thought part of his theory of evolution was that he left a sandwich with a strange creature in it to just for quite some months, and he saw what happened, and it grew into its own sort of creature.
That's right. It's the sandwich finch, which is very interesting.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically looks like a giant finch and a baguette at the same time. It's
wow.
An amazing creature. Very obviously the Galapagos iguanas, have almost hunted it to extinction now. It's not been a very long-lived animal because it's just so tasty. Yeah.
Yes, and very hard being a bird that's made of bread as well, because birds do like bread, and I think then as a bird you're suddenly in trouble with other birds. I feel like that's survival's going to be tricky. Yeah,
it's a very cannibalistic species, have been known to eat themselves. I mean, it's sad. It's a sad story. It's very sad. I mean, you don't eat your own tail. Obviously not. Baguettes also. They live in a very hot place, and baguettes dry out pretty quickly, and they can just kind of snap. Unfortunately, yeah. It's
wow.
Yeah. Sad times.
That's a hazard. Again, this is we come back to the extreme nature of your. I didn't think about the hazards of dangerous snapping baguettes, and you could really hurt yourself on one of those.
Yeah, you can. You can end up with you have to. Especially me, I can't open my mouth very wide, so I have to. What I have to do, even with the very tall sandwiches, I have to use a special compressor so that they're compressed down to a very small size. But that does make them very hard. Yeah, so I've had at least 9 changes of teeth as well. So that's
wow, that's impressive. That sounds like a great. I always thought this is something I wish. Obviously it does exist in the world of sandwiches, but and listeners. Listeners are of all ages to this show, but they may not remember there was something called WinZip, which is where you made computer files very, very small.
Oh, yeah.
And I always thought, wouldn't that be great for I'd really like it if you could WinZip everything in life. Like, this chair's really big, WinZip it, very small, put it in your pocket, take it somewhere, unzip it, sit on the chair.
That would be brilliant, especially when you go on holiday. Like when you got those great big pieces of luggage. I'd love to WinZip a suitcase. That'd be great.
Yes.
And then you wouldn't get all that nonsense at the airport where they say, well, your bag is about 1 centimetre too big. You'll have to pay for it in the hold. And you go, no, actually, it's only 3 centimetres tall. It's really heavy,
small.
But it's the same weight, but it's just really, really tiny. That would be useful.
That would really throw them. It would be really confusing for them when you could then bring in 17 bags because they could all fit in the tiny little bag area.
Yeah.
But somehow the plane is now over heavy.
Yeah, the plane just wouldn't take off. Could you do the same with the plane though? Maybe you could, once everyone's on the plane, you could just, instead of having smaller bags, you could just put everyone and then WinZip the aeroplane. I don't know what the advantage of that would be. Unless you had lots and lots of airplanes. No, I think that's just not going to work, is it? Because the wind is still going to be as strong up there, and then the airplane
Yes.
would just be buffeted
Well, also
around.
again, back to the kind of baguette finch. I worry you'd get eaten by a flying bird. Who,
Oh,
you know,
yes.
there'd be a worry if I'm afraid this 747 flight has just been eaten by a goose, and then you've got a whole different world of
Yeah.
difficulty.
Or maybe you could do the opposite and make the aeroplane, once it's in the air, make it really massive. It's like 10 times the size. And then
Oh yeah.
the winds wouldn't be able to like buffet it around as much. And then you could, if as long as the people stayed the same size, suddenly the aeroplane would be like really massive. Everyone would have a lot of seat room and leg room. The drinks would be
Wow.
10 times the size. I think,
I'd like a cup of tea, please. It would
Yeah.
come in like a canoe.
they'd
Be
have
a
to work out
canoe
the
of tea.
toilets though, wouldn't they? Because otherwise the toilet would also be 10 times as large, and you'd be in danger of falling into the toilet in the aeroplane. So they'd have to work that bit out.
Yeah, well, I still don't really understand how the toilet's an airplane, because when you press the button, it just sort of goes, whoom, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
and then it's just thrown at someone on the ground. I think there's always someone on the ground that gets it in the face, right? I assume that's how it works, and so you wouldn't want to get sucked into if you were small, you get sucked into that, and then you'd be fired into someone's face on the ground. That'd be horrible.
That would be horrible, especially if it had. I mean, I remember someone saying it must surely freeze at that height as well, because it's like -50 up there or something. So you just got a big frozen doo-doo heading at you. But well, I agree with you about the sound they make. It still alarms me. You press the button and it's almost like it's deciding for a while whether it's going to do anything. There's like about 5 seconds where it just goes, "There's nothing happening if I press the button," and then it just goes, "Phew!" And you're like, "Ah!" Yeah. It's not a great sound. I think they need to redesign that
No.
sound. Yeah.
But I think the thinking bit is where they're working out where to fire it. Like, it's scanning below, and it's saying, who do I dislike the most? This guy. Get this guy. Go now. Boom. And then it's somebody in a very fancy car, probably.
Yeah, or maybe
Driving
that's
along.
why the baguette finches are dying out. Maybe they just lock on to baguette finches and just blast them into smithereens. I don't know, but I guess they're only in
That's
one
very
place,
sad.
so on Galapagos Islands. But why would they do that? I think they should change that sound though. I mean, they could change it to da 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 or something like you've done a do well done or badalaba or hooray or something. I think of a little encouraging sound in various
That's
different
nice.
languages. Could detect, you could say which language you'd like to be congratulated in.
That's lovely. Well, I like again. I don't know if these are around. I remember some years ago there was like a waste paper basket you could buy that when you threw rubbish in it, it would play like basketball noises and a crowd
nice.
cheering. And I would like the same for toilet. I think if you manage to aim correctly into the toilet, it should reward you like you've scored a 3-pointer.
I think they should be like, "Eh," or if you've missed, and then what's the positive sound that you get on those boards, like beep or something? Yeah, that'd be like woo, yeah, wow, yeah, that would be good. I think I think we should.
That'd be lovely.
Write immediately
There's also
to the civil
you've made me
aviation
realise there's
authority.
not much difference between the good and bad sounds for basketball.
Yeah, that's true, actually, isn't it? No, they're sort of like a sort of mixed response. Well, you've done something, or beep. Yeah. But
Yeah,
but
it's an odd one.
sandwiches are they're an important part of my life, and unfortunately my daughter hates sandwiches, so that's
Oh,
yeah, so it's not gonna
that's so
continue
sad.
on. But it's all right. She loves bagels actually, so I guess that she'll just have
Oh,
to get
wow.
involved in
Extreme bagels.
extreme bagels instead. And there's of course less
Yeah.
filling required there because there's a hole in the middle, so that's good. So saving.
That's true. But where are those bits that were the whole? Are there little bagel bits everywhere that was it created with? It's one of these eternal questions of life, like the chicken and the egg. Is there a bagel whole bit of bread somewhere, or was it created?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a very
think it
complicated question.
should probably be called a bagel egg, actually, shouldn't it? Because it's almost the
yes.
size, it's like one of those beautiful, instead of like a chicken egg, which is that very distinctive shape. Some birds do have like a round kind of spherical egg, don't they? And I think that's what the
Right.
bagel would be like. So the bagel eggs must be in the same place as the bits out of the middle of a polo mint and all those lost
Yes.
socks and
Donuts, donut centres.
Oh, yeah.
There must be other. There's pretzels have got several bits missing. Whole cheese,
Oh
Emmental
yeah.
cheese.
Oh yeah.
There's all
Pretzels.
those bits of cheese somewhere. You know.
Yeah. What's the opposite of pretzel? Would be like you have to say it backwards, I guess. I'm not going to even work that out. Les
Le,
rep or
le,
something. I don't know. Les
Liz,
up.
Liz Turp.
Rep. Rep.
Liz Turp.
Liz chirp. This
I'll
sounds
have
like
a salty Liz Turp,
Liz
please.
chirp sounds like a prime minister. Yes.
It
So
does,
Liz chirp.
yes.
But yeah, where are all the Liz Terps? Where do they go with the bagel eggs? There's some sort of bread mountain somewhere. But maybe that's where the baguette finches are going to. But like,
And that would be an ideal place to have an extreme sandwich. If you're going to have an extreme sandwich anywhere, on top of a bread mountain feels appropriate.
Absolutely, and even better if it was a bread volcano, and then just kind of spewing out hot dough from inside it. That'd be good.
That would be amazing because the bread would the bread would sort of cook mid-air as it spewed out. Yeah, it'd be lovely. It'd be like an instant bakery.
And I do like
That's
hot
a very
bread.
nice idea.
Yeah,
Yes.
warm bread is the best, isn't it? Unless you're gluten intolerant, in which case it's awful, and you'd have to find
Yes.
a rye mountain or a what else? They've got gram flour that comes from chickpeas. That's nice.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah.
nice. There's I was just going to say rice. There's also rice.
There's also
I mean,
rice.
it's not bread, but if you could find a volcano that spewed out rice,
Oh yeah,
you could stand there. I mean, it'd be horrible having hot rice explode in your face, but I think overall it would still not be bread.
it'd be
So
right if it was next
that's
to like another volcano that did curry. I could. Otherwise, it'd be a bit bland, wouldn't it? But
I mean, you're really making me realise that there's not enough of a range of volcanoes out there. Because we haven't found the bread. I hope there's a bread one. All the ones I know is do lava, and you think, change it up, guys. I mean,
Yeah.
Maybe this is why there's not as many volcanoes now as there were sort of millions of years ago.
Yeah.
Because they're just not
They're just
bucked
not
up with the
original.
trend, you know.
they've not moved
Not
on.
updated. Where's
They've
Volcano 2.0?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so much diversification here that
Yes.
maybe this is something that, I mean, everyone's talking about AI all the time. Maybe this is what AI will be able to do for us is provide
Oh, wow.
schematics to new types of volcanoes. And then instead of all the old jobs, we'll have new jobs making new types of volcano, which can just feed us in entertaining ways, I think. I mean, it doesn't have to be just food, does it? It could be
No.
paint. You want I mean,
That'd be beautiful. The colours of an exploding paint volcano would be so nice.
Yeah, I'd you'd have to make sure it was, washable. Otherwise, you could get into serious trouble if it was like oils and acrylics. I don't know. You'd be,
Be tricky, and you'd also have to, I suppose, if it did a coat of matte paint, then you'd need it to do a gloss one afterwards, and that could be quite tricky. Yeah,
and you wouldn't want
it's
too
got
many of the
issues.
different colours close together. Otherwise, they'd just all end up as brown, wouldn't they? And then they mix together into a horrible brown paint. And that
Oh
would,
yes, that's a good point.
You need them to be.
But I do. I mean, when you think that when volcanoes explode and lava goes everywhere, everyone goes, "Oh no, the lava's ruined everything." Whereas if a paint volcano exploded, they could be, "It's a paint volcano. Oh, my house is green. That's really nice." And that'd be quite a lovely change,
Yeah, like a real refresh. You just have to make sure you got out there quick to get the paint off the windows after it happened.
Yes,
and then just
and
go
pets, yeah.
and pets, and I guess you'd have to have some kind of special covering for the garden. But it wouldn't matter if it was green, I suppose. But then everything would just look really lovely and green.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I think I'm sold on this. Have you got an idea? If a volcano could spew anything out for you, I'd quite like trainers. If a volcano wanted to fire out trainers, and then every time I thought I need some new trainers, I'd get 300 pairs, very hot and fired at my face. So it wouldn't be ideal, but it would still be really handy.
Yeah, that would be handy. I'm trying to think what I would like the most of. I think possibly coffee. I do, as long as it was well made.
Yes.
It was. You wouldn't want a bad coffee volcano. That would be, be like, that would be terrible. I guess I really like pavlova and tiramisu.
Oh, nice.
They'd be nice ones. I've gone back to food again. You can. I do like food.
Yeah. Popcorn would be good. I think it'd be so light, and it'd heat up in the volcano and then pop out the top. That's something
that
quite
would be
nice
fun
about
to watch. You could go, instead of watching a movie with popcorn, you could just go and watch the volcano with the popcorn coming out. That would be entertaining enough, and take a movie on a small portable device. It'd be the other way around, like massive popcorn and tiny movie instead of big movie and tiny popcorn. I think it's
This is a great way to do many. Do you know? And I think yet again, this is one of the reasons I got you on the show, Myles. This sort of professional expertise, this creativity. This is how you save the cinema industry, I think, and in fact, all industries. You make the planes small. You make the luggage. If we change the sizes of everything, surely that'll keep it popular.
I think so. I think there are so many things that are the wrong size. There's
Yes, I agree.
that we just need to start, an A to Z list and just start at the top and go through with what's the wrong size. I'm trying to think what.
Well, to be fair, I've got to admit that I've brought this up on the show before, but I still think we need big rice.
Big
I know we
rice?
mentioned rice, but instead of lots of little rices, just have one giant rice.
Oh, that's nice.
And it feeds you for a week, That's a
great
idea. Carry it on your back.
I think spiders are too big, however big they are. I think they should definitely just all be so small we can't see them. I think wasps, probably the same, although we don't see as many anymore. And
great white sharks could be quite small. I think they should be small.
Oh, yeah. They should definitely be smaller. Yeah.
Petty white sharks, yes.
I think wouldn't mind my house being bigger. But
yes, that's a nice.
I'm not sure my neighbours would like that though, because then it would push their houses over, and then that might cause problems.
But they could then make their houses bigger.
Yeah,
and maybe make the roads smaller. There's other bits you could make smaller.
That's true.
And if airports were smaller because all the planes were so tiny, then there's more space for bigger houses.
Yeah, that's good. I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else I would like to change the size of.
For sheer comedy value, I'd quite like a zoo and everything in the zoo to be very small.
Oh, I see. I'd go the other way. I'd love everything to be massive, and then it'd be like Jurassic Park. You could go to a zoo, and it would be like, there, look at that bat. It's the size of a jumbo jet, and as long as it was, I wasn't actually next to it, and it wasn't about to, eat me.
Yes.
I think there's something exciting about being in a zoo of giant animals. A giant lion, and that's like the size of a cathedral. That would be cool to see.
Wow. That would be incredible. But then you'd have to have the insect bit where everything's huge except for the spiders that you've made very, very small.
Yeah, that's never my favourite bit of the zoo, the insect bit. But I mean, insects are very interesting, and I actually. This is actually a fact. I did actually study zoology at university, and I had a very interesting lecturer called Dr. Les Strong, who was also my tutor, and he was a really nice guy. But his area of study was basically cowpats and the insects that frequent them, and it's because he was like interested in there's all kinds of like weird chemicals that sometimes cows eat off fields, and it affects what happens to their poops. Because if their poops are too toxic, then insects just don't touch them, and the pats stay there like sort of forever. And but he had a laboratory, and not surprisingly, all the other biologists didn't want him upstairs, so he had a basement area which was full of poo and insects. Under those things they put on top of cakes to keep flies off cakes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he had those to keep flies on the cowpats inside, so they wouldn't fly away. And he did experiments on cowpats downstairs, and it was very smelly. So that's why he'd been banished, I think, to the cellar with his stinky cowpat science. Yeah,
that is incredible. I there's a few things. I mean, for a start, Les Strong is almost pretzel backwards. It's not quite.
Oh yeah.
But I am wondering if he was the opposite of a pretzel.
Maybe he was made of all those pieces. He wasn't a real human. He was some sort of life form created by
pretzel creation,
bits of pretzel bits stuck together with cow poo. I don't know. I mean, that sounds really disgusting. But
it does. Well, I also was going to say that I am surprised. I am impressed, and that insects have taste. There's certain poos that are of better quality than other poos, and yeah, and I like that there's sort of insect connoisseurs. Well, this simply isn't a good enough poo for me. Oh, is this a essentials range poo, or I only have taste the difference poo, or
I think so.
It'd
Be like, Gerald, over here. This is an absolutely divine poop. Oh yes, this is the finest I've tasted for quite some time. I think it may be organic. Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah, that would be very good. Yeah, I can imagine that. That's a whole series.
Fine fine dining for insects, I think, is an area that hasn't been explored enough. Well, listen, Myles, it's so nice to have you on the show. I have asked you here to answer a specific question that I need your help with. And obviously, though, before we get there, I'm not sure if you're aware, but I've got 2 admin questions that obviously legally, I have to ask you for the sake. It's absolutely legally.
I remember signing the forms. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. There were a lot of forms.
A lot of forms. Yeah, it took a while, and especially because they were in Welsh, and I don't speak Welsh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but that's another legal requirement. I have to do all the forms in Welsh. Unless the guest speaks Welsh, and then I have to do them in Finnish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of which the only words I know are Miki Hakkinen, which is the name of a racing car driver. So I'm not sure that counts actually.
Yes, that would answer 3 of the questions on the 65 pages of form. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so that's quite good. You'd probably have done better in that than in Welsh, actually. Just come to think about.
There we go.
So it's not. Yeah, maybe I should have sent you.
So certainly finish next time. That's it.
Yes, I mean you did. I mean I don't know if you intentionally did, but you did tick the boxes that said you would answer the questions or face a horrendous fine of.
Oh yes. Okay. Well, I better answer them then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you, as I said, I don't know if you intended to tick that box, but
no, I didn't.
Yes.
Oh dear.
Yes, well, I like that you filled in a lot of the other questions with small drawings.
Yeah, I just sort of thought that I could do. Some people do interpretive dance. I thought I'd do interpretive stickmen, and let you work out what they meant. Whether it was sometimes yes or no question, but I sort of went somewhere in between with a little stick character. And left it up to you to decide if that was a yes or a no. I
really enjoyed it. And and again, I mean, ultimately, the most important bit was that you ticked that one box, and I think that's key. I'm still trying to work out at least 30 of the questions, but I'll get there. It's very enjoyable.
Good,
so thank you. I like
that's a pleasure.
All the little hats you put on them were really.
Oh yeah, I do.
Nice.
Yeah,
really nice touch.
They're actually sandwiches, not hats, but don't worry.
Oh, well that. Oh right, okay. No, it's all right. That's made a lot of them much more clear. So
yes,
thank you.
Good. That's good. I'm glad that's cleared that up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought a lot of them were eating their hats, and I thought maybe they were wrong about something they said they weren't wrong about, and then they had to eat their hats. But now anyway. I'm so sorry. Well, listen, Myles, I've got these 2 questions. I think the second one's always a bit trickier, but you take your time with these. It's just important that we deal with them. The first is, I'm sure you're aware, we have listeners to the show of all possible ages, Bronze Ages, Ice Ages, well, actually not 100, not allowed to be 100 years old and listen to this show. Long story. I won't get into it. But every other age, 101, 300, -7, they all listen. And so I just need to check if there are any rude words you won't be saying to make sure this show stays family friendly.
Well, absolutely. There's definitely, I mean, it's more of a phrase, of course, but I will definitely not be saying melly bonches because, obviously melly bonches is, it's 6, Melly bonches. Oh, it just pops out sometimes, doesn't it? You have to be careful that you don't just say melly bonches by accident, or even when explaining melly bonches to someone else who's never heard melly bonches, that you don't say the actual words melly bonches because then they'll, I mean, of course, it has different resonance in different accents. It's particularly offensive in if you use it in Scotland. You can't go around saying melly bonchers to people, otherwise they'll get really, melly bonchers. That's very offensive.
You'd be arrested, yes.
You would. Yeah. I mean, there are people still in prison and have been for 40 years for saying melly bonchers on the streets of Edinburgh.
Yes, there's the Melly Bunches 12, I believe. Who've
That's
been,
right.
in prison for a very long time now, and it's a very sad case. But how were they to know?
Well, yeah.
Without the research,
And they've actually
yeah.
had to be isolated in their own special bunker, haven't they? So apparently that's all they
Yes.
say to one another all day long.
Yes.
And I think actually one of the prison guards there got so, they were there so much listening to the words so many times that they just started saying it too. And so now, of course, it's the Melly Bunches 13 because the prison guard had to be arrested as well. Yeah.
So I mean, it's awful, and it's also, I have to say, that's one of the reasons I haven't had them on this podcast, because I just can't cope with them saying Melly Bunches.
Melly Bunches,
on
no.
a show where we definitely can't say Melly Bunches. Can I ask, is there an exception? Because of course there's the famous jazz musician Melly Bunches.
Yes.
And I think if you're referring to the jazz musician Melly Bunches, you can't play in Scotland because of various terrifying consequences. But if we're referring to the jazz musician Melly Bunches, are we allowed to?
Yeah,
I say that.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I believe they have played in Scotland, but just used their middle initial. So it was Melly
Yes.
J Bunches, and suddenly everyone was like, "That's fine." And of course, is very celebrated in my hometown in Birmingham because for some weird reason, Melly Bunches said in a Brummie accent is very, very acceptable, and people say it all day long. If you go to Birmingham and you walk around the Bull Ring, you'll just hear people say Melly Bunches all the time, and it's actually a sign of respect, if anything. So I'm not quite sure, what we were talking about evolution earlier. Here we were talking about the evolution of words. I'm not sure how, I don't know what, if you go halfway between Birmingham and Edinburgh, I don't know, where's that? Somewhere like York. I don't know. Is it offensive there?
Yeah, Cumbria, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. I think it might. Again, I think it probably depends on the accent you said it in. Maybe the tone. I would assume whispered. It's quite upsetting.
Yeah.
Shouted in your face, probably quite welcomed.
Yeah, maybe. My grandmother was from Hull, so I don't remember her ever saying Melly Bunches at any time. But I guess there were. But although she was a fan of Melly Bunches, the jazz musician's father,
right.
also called Melly Bunches, but middle initial K, of course, not J. So
Melly K Bunches.
Melly K
Senior,
Bunches,
yes,
amazing artist, yeah.
Yes. He used to play the traffic cone, I believe, didn't
That's
he?
right. And it is still known as the Bunches Cone, I believe.
Yes, it is the Bunches Cone. Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Fantastic. Really beautiful.
Yeah, the way he got that kind of trill in to work in the middle of it, and he could great as well because he didn't need a special case for it when he was traveling. He could just wear it as a hat, actually. And interestingly, he used to keep sandwiches under that traffic cone hat.
Did he?
So I can see everything in this conversation is coming together as hats, sandwiches, jazz.
It's how the world works.
Melly Bunches.
And I mean, yeah. Because I would have thought traffic cone, easily put a nice wrap under there, easily put an ice cream cone. Obviously, ice cream's then on your head, melting into your eyes. But I can see a lot of benefits to it. These things all come around. And, thank you for not saying Melly Bunches on the show, unless it is in a Birmingham accent or is referring to the jazz musician Melly K or indeed Melly J. Bunches.
Yes. No, I will never ever say, Melly Bunches, least of all on a podcast like this.
Thank you.
I would never say Melly Bunches ever.
Well, thank you. I would definitely never say Melly Bunches, and I appreciate you not saying Melly Bunches either.
Thank you, Tiernan.
Thank you. Now, the second question, obviously, this is, I think, a trickier one. Take your time with this. May require some thinking time. See how you go. Myles, would you rather everything you touched turned to gravy, or whenever you sneezed, you flew backwards at 600 miles an hour?
Right. So touch gravy, sneeze, fly backwards at 600 miles an hour. Right.
600 miles.
600 miles.
Exactly.
So not 601 or 500, but it's very specifically
No.
600. Well, I mean, I guess sneezing and going backwards that fast. You'd have to make sure that you were in an area that you weren't going to go through a wall or something. But it could be useful if you wanted to go on holiday on a sort of daily basis, because you could just aim yourself. For example, I might aim myself at Tenerife, and I guess I'd probably have to try and sneeze midair a second time to get there and get the trajectory just right, so that I landed on holiday, and then I could spend a day there, especially if it was raining here, and then could like sneeze my way back home. It's difficult as well because you don't want to bump into something. You're not looking the right way, but I can definitely see the advantages.
What would you carry to make use? Would you have a little pot of pepper, or I mean, I get hay fever, so I'd have a little, maybe a little tub of pollen, something like that.
Yeah, that could be good. Although, I mean, I guess the downside of this is that I have hay fever too, and if you sneeze accidentally, or that could be a real problem. You could really hurt yourself there. So maybe you'd have to wear some sort of armor on the back of your body like the whole time, like plates of armor, so made of ultimanium or some special new metal that protects you from or springs.
Well, you could have a sort of nose cover. That could be the other option. You could wear a nose cover and then you could remove it. A bit like a sort of think of Cyclops from the X-Men, whose eyes always shoot a red beam of light.
Yes.
But he has a thing over his eyes and he can open or close it. So maybe if you had a nose cover and you could open the little nostrils when you needed to sneeze, close them up when you didn't need to sneeze.
I think that sounds good. You could wear one of those things you've got on when you go swimming, like it looks a big clip on your nose. Yes. I think that could work. And then I suppose the gravy issue is, I mean, I really do like gravy. It depends who's making it, of course, because gravy can be of many different grades and qualities.
Yes.
It's not something we usually use in, sandwich making, because it just sort of flows out or gets into the
too wet.
The bread.
Too wet. Yeah.
But I do like it. And would I want everything I touch to turn to gravy? I mean, well, that would be difficult doing almost anything, really, wouldn't it? I mean, you go to bed, your bed just turns into gravy. I mean, it'd be nice to begin with because it's sort of warm. But if you were hungry, that could be like just awful. You'd be like, oh, it's just reminding me how hungry I was. But then I suppose you could turn over and lick it, and then you wouldn't be hungry anymore.
I think that's the big issue. You meet someone, you shake their hand, suddenly they've turned to gravy.
Yeah, that would be very disappointing. You couldn't.
Yes, it would be it.
That would
Unless
be
you
upsetting.
didn't like them, in which case then they turn to gravy, which is a bonus.
I guess then you might get hired by governments to go around just touching their enemies and turning them into gravy. That could be, you can make a lot of money that way, I suppose. But it doesn't sound very me.
Well, also you couldn't touch the money because it would turn to gravy.
Oh
so
yeah, that's a good point. You go to the bank to collect your money. That's right, and then you pick up your credit card. I'm beginning to see no benefits to touching things. What happens if you touch yourself? I mean, I've got spectacles. I'd touch my spectacles, they'd turn to gravy. I wouldn't be able to see anything. That'd be awful. I also,
scratch your nose,
your nose, sit on a chair. I mean, open the door to your house. The key turns to gravy. The door turns to gravy. Your house turns to gravy. I mean, you're walking on the earth. The whole earth turns to gravy. You're in a universe spinning around. The whole universe turns to gravy. I don't know. I think it's definitely have to be sneezing and going backwards at 600 miles an hour for me. That's the one for me.
That's very sensible. Very sensible. And I think it's a very... I mean, obviously, some people do really like gravy and probably would choose the gravy option. But I think if you're, worried, particularly when it comes to sandwiches and things, I don't know if a universal gravy sounds very sensible. So, yeah, I think
I think especially if it knocks out sandwiches, that's it. It's gone for me. Whereas at least... flying backwards at 600 miles an hour, I could go and investigate sandwiches in many different regions.
Oh, yes, of course.
Very quickly. And especially using the pepper you suggested, actually, because obviously I do like pepper, and that goes in many sandwiches. And then you could combine eating a delicious sandwich with sneezing to your next destination, which would be...
That's a lovely idea.
The world.
If you eat a sandwich... mid-sneeze, like while you're flying through the air, that counts as extreme, I'd say so.
Yeah, definitely. Extreme, backwards, sandwich, sneezing, eating. I'd probably break a whole new... I mean, you need a new Guinness Book of Records just for all of the things I could do with those powers combined.
Yes, very exciting, very exciting. Well, listen, thank you for taking that as serious as it needed to be taken. Legally, we're covered now, so thank you, despite your drawings on many of the very important questions. But apart from that, we are covered. So this is the question, Myles, that's been sent in. I'm going to read it out to you as one, but we might have to break it down a little bit.
Okay.
Hello, I am 25 stinky hippos old, so I'm not sure if you're aware of the stinky hippos age ratio, but I think that means they are about 46 in human years. I'm not sure. Or or 8. I'm not sure. Anyway, it depends on how you look at it. Anyway, and my questions are: why are oranges orange, and what colour is the number 7? Thanks. Bye from Professor Wobbly Knees. P.S. It's really Spencer, which is nice. He's given us his first name. Because obviously, when you get a message from a professor, such as Professor Wobbly Knees, it can be quite intimidating. But now we know Spencer.
Professor S. Wobbly Knees. Yeah. Thank you, Professor S.
Yes.
Well, why are oranges orange? That is a good question. I did write a poem about oranges once. I'm gonna actually just get that, because that answers this question. Give me one moment.
Let me put 39. Okay.
My oranges poem. Hang on, because I do think this poem's fun. There we go.
Cool. I'll do a little edit, and then we'll just do a little clever way that makes this sound seamless.
There we go. Right. So it's a good question about oranges. Yeah, why are oranges orange? I think oranges are orange because they're not every other colour. I think that's probably the answer. But also I have got a beautiful poem here. You can use this or not. They say nothing rhymes with orange, but that's not right. I'll show you. Borange, corange, dorange, forange. They all rhyme with orange. But those aren't words, I hear you say, so let's give them meanings now, okay? Borange is a magic beanstalk. Corange is a planet far away. Dorange is a kind of dinosaur. Forange is a very loud sneeze. So here goes. If I lived on planet Corange, near a fearsome herd of dorange, and I couldn't stop a forange, I'd throw down a seed of borange and climb up high and eat an orange. There you go. That's how I feel about oranges. Why are oranges orange? Yeah, it's a deep question. And what came first, the colour or the fruit? No one's quite sure. Yes. Maybe they arrived at exactly the same moment, and there was nothing orange in the world, and then suddenly a lemon just had a bad day, and just suddenly popped out in a sort of sphere instead of that nice kind of eggy, lemony shape. And I don't know, maybe there was something special about the sun that day. Some kind of magic beam came down and just added a touch of red. And then...
Oh, that's nice.
And then suddenly there was an orange. And everyone, what's that? And they went, I haven't got a word for it. And we're just going to create the word orange at the same time. Are you suggesting? Can
I just check here, Myles? Because obviously, not only have we discovered now that there is a planet. Was it Planet Corange or was it Planet Dorange?
It's Planet Corange. Yeah,
Planet Corange. So that's. I mean, I'm not an astronomer, but I didn't know about Planet Corange. It's very exciting news. But also, yeah, I didn't really. So oranges are suntanned lemons. Is that how it worked?
I think it must be. Yeah, I think
it must be right. It must be.
It must be. I mean, it's like, and limes just haven't tried hard enough yet. They're still
or they're
dark.
very sick, awfully.
They're just hanging around, very green, not ripening. They just can't be bothered. And that's I think lemons taken it to the next level, and then orange has just gone way beyond into some special new. Wow. They're lemon 2.0, like we were saying earlier. They are like a volcano that has tried harder, and they've become an orange instead of a lemon. Yeah, I think it's
pink grapefruits. Are they embarrassed lemons?
No, they're. It's my deep belief that grapefruit are just evil.
Yes, yes, that's fair.
There's nothing good about grapefruit. They're just nasty. No. They're kind of, they say, haha, look at me, I'm like a giant orange. I'm going to be really big and fruity and delicious. And then you get involved with one, and it's just bitter and sour, and it doesn't even taste as nice as.
And it's lured you in with the name grape in there.
Yeah.
You think, well, I've had a fruit that's a grape, and that was delicious.
Yeah.
I'll have a grapefruit, and it's disgusting.
There's nothing like a grape.
You've lied to me. Yeah, it's snuck in.
No one's really making grapefruit wine, are they? I mean, it's like, why would you do that? No. You only do that for people you didn't like. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really horrid.
And the
Really
second
horrid. That's
question
fair.
from Professor S. What was that? I've forgotten
What
already.
colour is the number 7?
Number 7. Well, I think number 7. I don't know. It feels like a sort of forest green to me.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
nice.
I think I like the number
Very
7.
nice.
It's because it's very close to my favorite number, which is 8. Which is, surely 8 is a yellow. That's got to be the best number. It's like a
Yes.
ripened 7. I guess a bit like we were saying
Yeah.
before. But 7, I think, is dark green, and I can imagine a tree covered in lots of fluttering 7s. That would be nice. With like,
That's very lovely. Yeah.
I can imagine
That's
poets
very
writing
nice.
about that, and
Some years ago, and the listeners may or may not know who this person is, but I heard Michael Palin say that his favourite number was 56, because if you change the beginnings of the words to "n," then obviously 57, that's Nifty Nevin, quite nice, but 56 becomes Nifty Nicks. And I thought, well, that's a fantastic reason to like 56.
that is a good reason. Nevin, yeah. I know. Yes, I think that is a good number. No, I like 8, but that's just because I was born on the 8th day of the 8th month.
Right.
Yeah.
So the 8th year.
Well, that would have been even more nifty if I'd
Would have
been
been
born
really
in
good, yeah.
88 or in 8. Although if I'd been born in 8, I'd be either very young or very old by now. So But no, I missed that bit. So it's
That's a
it's
shame.
a shame,
You should
isn't
go
it?
back and-
Yeah.
when they invent time machines, go back and fix that.
Yeah, or maybe I can sneeze my way back in time using.
Oh, that's very good.
And maybe
Yes,
if
that's
I
very
only go
good.
backwards at 600 miles an hour, actually, maybe you could go 600 years into the past instead. That would be. And then I don't know how you get back to the future, but with
No, it's very
lightning,
tricky.
usually.
They haven't put that in any film yet. In the Back to the Future films, where there wasn't a point where they sneezed.
No.
Someone needs to address. I'm just saying. I mean, we're dealing with a Professor Wobbly Knees here. I'm hoping if he hasn't been inspired to keep cowpats under specific covers with a lot of flies, then hopefully this has inspired him to. Now that he knows the answers to these two important questions, maybe he will investigate sneezing back in time.
Yeah, or he can consult on a remake of Back to the Future, the famous 1985 film, which surely needs a reboot now. And in that
Yes.
new version, the crucial time traveling element will be sneezing. I think that's
Yes. At 88 miles per hour. Yes, I like
I-
that.
yeah,
That
yeah.
would be a fantastic idea. Well, listen, Myles, thank you for your expertise. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your expertise. I hope Spencer / Professor Wobbly Knees is pleased with those answers. I certainly am. I'm very excited by them. And listen, what have you got coming up in the next 27 and a half years?
Well, I'm hoping to visit myself. So I've invented. I'm trying the process of inventing a room with 27 doors, and
Oh, wow.
the idea is that the next 27 years versions of me can all come through that door from their time, talking about time travel, and meet in that room around a board table, and we can discuss, how's it going for me, I'm pretty sure that the 27th version of me will be pretty bored because they'll have had to do it 27 times before.
It's really gonna, yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it because it'll be the first time for me, and I would
Yes.
want to find
Yes.
out how, whether I'm still counted as a sandwich champion in 27 years time. Yeah.
Can I ask, there's no 28, because by the 28th time they've got bored and stopped making doors? Is that how it's
That's what I'm hoping.
worked?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'm hoping it's not for
That
some
makes
other
sense.
reason.
Yes, of course. Well, listen. Well, good luck with your 27 doors over 27 years,
Thank you,
and
Tiernan.
good luck with the sandwich eating, and thanks again for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Many thanks to Myles Mcleod for having time in between extreme sandwich artistry to be able to come on the show and answer Spencer's question. Myles is also the co-author of the brilliantly funny Knight Sir Louis books for 6 to 12-year-olds, along with his brother Greg, who does all the fantastic illustrations. There are 6 Knight Sir Louis books in the series, and so far we have read 3 of them in our home. And me and my daughter are huge fans, and we hope to get the other 3 very, very soon. They are wonderfully silly, and you can get them in all places that books live, but I will pop a link into the podcast blurb too. Myles also writes for heaps of TV shows like The Rubbish World of Dave Spud, Circle Square, Hello Kitty Superstar, and loads more, so do check out for his name when watching those. Spencer, I hope you like the answer to your question, but if not, why not write any complaints you have in some oranges, and hopefully they'll go off before they arrive, and I'll never have to see them. If you want to send in a question that needs answering or anything else at all, then please get your nearest rattling kookmeister, sorry, I mean grown up, to help you email me at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk.
Okay, I have your results, Tiernan.
Oh, hello, Doctor. Right, how is my stub toe?
I have no idea. But what I do know is that based on how an accordion makes you happy and your willingness to say "ah," I think you very sadly, I'm so sorry to tell you, you've contracted a rare pirate disease called yoho mihatis.
Oh, that's very worrying news. What can I do about it, Doctor?
Well, firstly, I suggest you wear this eye patch,
Oh, thanks.
this big hat, and sail the 7 seas immediately.
Okay, thanks, Doctor, and that should help, should it?
I've no idea, but I bet you'll be good at it, you little pirate. Bye-bye, Captain Smallbeard.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'd better go get on a big boat then.
One last thing. How does your toe feel now?
Oh. Wow, I'd completely forgotten about my toe because I was so worried about having yoho mihatis. It doesn't hurt anymore at all. Thanks, Doctor. You are very good.
Just doing my job. Now, get on that boat and find some treasure.
Do I have to?
Oh, yes. Doctor's orders.
Oh, well, I guess I'll be a little while then, landlubbers. Hopefully I will conquer the 7 seas in time to get back for next week's podcast. We can only hope. Oh, bye!
You have been listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents. Radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense. It's the end.